Hey, what's up, chooms? In this crash course tutorial for Cyberpunk Edgerunners, I'm going to go over attachments in the form of rebuilds, basically converting your weapons into power, smart, and tech weapons. Now, before I get into this, I want to mention something here. You might notice in all my crash course tutorials and other videos and streams and stuff, I don't really have any cuts. I don't edit and cut my videos because I don't like to. I like to just speak live all in one take and kind of just speak from my mind and my heart because I love this game and I have a true passion for Cyberpunk. And I just wanted to mention that in hopes that you appreciate that and to ask if you do, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out the Cybernation Uncensored community. We've been building it for the past few years, and we would love you to join and just love your support. Thanks so much. Let's get into it.
Cybernation Uncensored.
All right, so check it out. All these rules that I'm going to go over are based on the Cyberpunk Edgerunners Mission Kit. Now, we do know in the near future, and that depends on by the time you watch this video, maybe it's already out, but there is going to be a full Edgerunners rulebook, in which case I might do some follow-up videos if any of these rules or things change, or if things are added to them. But as of now, this is how it works when you do a rebuild. Now, a rebuild is pretty much described as attachments and ammo because the rebuild is being done in the form of attachments to your weapon. Now, you can only do one rebuild per weapon, meaning you can't, rebuild a weapon to be a power weapon and also a tech or a smart and power and tech or whatever. It's just one rebuild per weapon. Now, typically it requires two attachment slots to do a rebuild, unless it's an exotic ranged weapon. So anything else can be rebuilt, but it takes two slots. Just know that. I'm going to go over that in each section as we go into these. The other thing too is, the ammo, other than smart ammo, which works with everything, tech weapons, those don't work with grenade launchers or missile launchers. They work with every other type of weapon using two slots if it's other than an exotic ranged. And then, buying the ammo, the other thing is like the price, the cost, whether it's for, typical machine guns, rifles, pistols, and things, or if it's a grenade or a missile for your launcher and such. So definitely buy the mission kit, buy the Edgerunners rulebook, get all the details. I'm also not going to go over all the different weapons and things. I'm just going over how the rebuild works for power, smart, and tech weapons. So again, make sure you buy the mission kit, you buy the official rule book so you don't miss out on any of the details. But let's get into it. Let's get into power first. Power weapons. This is exciting. This is probably one of my favorites. It costs 1,000 to rebuild. It, like I said, takes two attachments, just like all of these, unless it's an exotic range, in which case only requires one attachment slot. But it gives you a +5 to your crit. So if you get a crit injury, you know that you roll on those tables, whether head or body, and you get a +5 damage direct to HP of the target. Well, you get another +5 direct to the HP of the target if you have a power weapon. On top of that, you can ricochet your shots. This is why this is one of my favorites. I love the idea of ricocheting shots. You just take a -4 penalty to your attack, and then you can ricochet your bullets, your shot, basically at a target. So this works very well if a target's hiding behind something that you don't have direct line of sight to. But if you ricochet it off of a wall or the ceiling or the floor, it can work its way to the target. And obviously it needs to make sense. The point of ricochet needs to have a line of sight to the target, and it can't like ricochet off of the same wall or item or thing and hit something that's hiding directly behind it. That it doesn't work that way. So it needs to ricochet off. It needs to make sense. So that's how that works. Also, if you're doing a targeted attack, right, which is a -8 typically, it just negates that -4. So if you're doing a targeted ricochet shot, it's still just a -8, not that -4. So like if you're gonna do a targeted shot, why not pull off a ricochet if they're hiding behind something and you can't get to them? It's not an additional negative penalty there. But just in general, that -4, I'm going to, if I'm playing, which I rarely do, I'm always game master, let's be honest here, but if I'm playing, I'm going to ricochet all my shots. Talk about style over substance. Like, wow, that's like the Wild West right there. That's one of my favorites, is the power. But let's move on. Let's get into the smart weapons. Like power, 1,000 to rebuild, 2 attachment slots, unless it's an exotic ranged, obviously. You get a +1 to your ranged attacks, very much like smart weapons, right? You need to have your interface plug into it or your subdermal grip to use a smart weapon. If you're not familiar with Cyberpunk RED rules, start there. All those rules are in the mission kit, but I have a complete crash course on Cyberpunk RED rules that you can check out on the Cybernation Uncensored YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. But yeah, you get a +1 to ranged attacks, and then there's improved smart ammo that you can use. Now, obviously, if you use regular ammo, you're not going to get those bonuses and stuff. But yeah, using smart ammo, you basically get no penalties to visual sort of things going on in the game, right? So like if you're on a rooftop with like neon signs and stuff that you're trying to see through to see a target, or you're traveling the Badlands through fog or through a mist or whatever, you're not going to get a negative penalty if you have smart ammo. It avoids that, so that's so cool. And then the way that smart ammo works in this new improved smart ammo is that if you miss, right, if you miss a DV to hit the target by 5 or less, basically you get a second attempt. That smart ammo is going to like circle back around and whiz back and hit that, try to hit that target. And that second roll doesn't account for your stats or your skills. It's just a +14 to your 1d10 on that second attempt. So that's great. That's like the equivalent of having an 8 in your reflex stat and a +6 in your ranged weapon or whatever you're using at that time. So that's great. If you have smart ammo, this improved smart ammo, you have a really good chance to hit that target, because even if you don't hit it on that first one, as long as it's within that 5 or less range or whatever of missing that DV, you get that second attempt at that +14. So that's pretty significant. All right, let's get into tech weapons. These are pretty powerful. Now again, 1,000 Eddie rebuild. You can see that all of them basically cost 1,000 to do these rebuild. And again, all of them 2 attachment slots, unless it's an exotic ranged weapon, in which case it only costs 1 attachment slot. So all that sort of stuff seems to be across the board, whether power, smart, or tech weapon rebuilds. Now, when you do these tech weapons, you can sacrifice your move to charge it, because you need to charge this. It's basically using electromagnetic batteries or a system, or I don't know. It gives exact terminology in the book. Again, buy the book, check it out, get all that fun lore and stuff. But ultimately, you have to charge this thing. So you can just basically sacrifice your move to charge it, and then use your normal action to fire it. Now that charge will last basically the equivalent of 20 rounds, 60 seconds, like a full minute, or until you fire it. So obviously you don't want to charge it up as you're heading into battle. You want to charge it when you know you're going to be using it within a minute, right? Now, the other really cool thing with tech weapons is you can see and fire through thin cover. So like basic thin cover, like if someone's behind a thin door or wall or desk or something, you're going to see an outline of that target right through it. And then when you fire, it's going to ignore that cover, like no SP to destroy, right? No SDP or whatever. You're going to shoot right through that thin cover, and then look at that next point, half SP rounded up. So the target hiding behind thin cover does nothing. You can see an outline. You can see exactly where they are. You know, you're shooting right through that thin cover, and then their SP is reduced in half, rounded up. So you're going to really do a significant amount of damage. Now, the thing to take into account there is when you shoot through that cover, it's not going to reduce that SP or SDP or whatever of the cover, because it's just considered a little like, pin size hole that tech weapon is just like shooting right through. So very futuristic, very cyberpunk. I love tech weapons. However, I gotta say, personal preference, that power weapons are probably my favorite. They're maybe not as futuristic as tech weapons, right? Like, doesn't have that cyberpunk feel in dystopian futuristic style stuff, but absolutely has that sort of like style over substance when you're ricocheting shots and stuff like that, and then doing an additional 5 points of damage on top of the normal additional 5 points on a crit. So again, power's my favorite, but let me know in the comments which is your favorite and why. I'd be real curious to see what you think of these, which are your favorites, and then obviously, like, if you use these in gameplay, come leave a comment, let me know how that goes. I'm real curious of how these go. I'm really loving all these new rules. Make sure you check out the links at the end of this video to the complete crash course for Cyberpunk Edgerunners and the complete crash course for Cyberpunk RED. All right, I'll see you in the next video, chooms. Take care.
Cybernation Uncensored.